Hello everyone, this here is a Panasonic stereo FM, AM, FM stereo 8-track player. Made in Singapore. There was an alternate model of this which I believe was the RS-836S, which would have been made in Japan. This is the RS-836A. So this was made in Singapore. Minor differences between the two. It has the less fancy numbers, or more blocky numbers, I should say. This has the square button instead of the rectangle one, and this has a slightly different volume knob. But other than that, they're pretty much the same machines. I bought this on eBay. This is another eBay purchase. Like I said, with the RS-7050, this was the model I wanted. AM, FM work just fine. It will get stereo. I just don't have the aerial up right now. However, this was listed as the 8-track player not working. But guess what? It does. Now, it's going to need some servicing, but it does work. For instance, you can hear 2 programs playing. Let's see if I can get it to... There we go. And I'll show you why that's happening, or at least why I believe that's happening. So, I'm not exactly sure what mechanism this is in here, but let me unplug it real quick. You'll see why I believe this is having problems. Do you see that there? That's plastic. What does plastic do? It cracks. And what does that give us? Yes, the CRACK-O-MATIC.
CRACK-O-MATIC.
However, this is not the typical CRACK-O-MATIC mechanism of a Tanashin.
But it's not a Tanashin.
But anyway, we're going to pop this apart and see what's going on. Then this thing should just need a good cleaning, and I think I'll be able to get these scuffs out with Novus. Alrighty, I got this popped apart, and I already like this mechanism a lot more than the other one. This one is incredibly tiny. I mean, look at the thing. It's probably, I don't know, 2/3 the size of the other one. And this machine was definitely service-friendly. Look at how they tell you to push right here to release this little metal wheel that shows the program, and on the back it says here a very helpful hint for you: don't remove this screw except for antenna replacement. So that's very nice of them. So yeah, already I'm liking this machine a lot more than the other one, even though the other machine is an older one. But yeah, this just pops off like that, and it's pretty damn clean on the inside. There's some dust on the bottom, but not too much. I've already gone through and cleaned the battery terminals, 3-inch speakers. I mean, it sounded pretty good for something that has 3-inch speakers. I'm kind of impressed. I know this model was released, I think, in '78, if I'm not mistaken. However, that was the Japanese variant, so I'm not sure when they started making the Singaporean one. January 1980. Okay, well that would make sense because this is pointing at the 0. So this is probably from 1980, sold in 1980, I would assume. Anyway, our belt is under here, so I'm going to have to pull it off, and it does feel a little loose. So I'm gonna pull this mechanism out of here and have it upside down so I can get to that, and then we will address the CRACK-O-MATIC. Yes, I can very easily hold the pulley coming off the motor and spin the flywheel with very little resistance, so this belt needs to go. So I found another belt for it, though to be honest this one may be a little bit tight, so I may try treating this belt with wintergreen oil if this one ends up not working, so I'll keep that aside. Next thing to deal with is the cracked head holder, and it appears to be getting caught, so there may be some lubrication that needs to be done as well. Okay, so I have glued the head holder back together, and that's where the crack was. I'm not sure if I'm really going to need any reinforcements because this is a pretty big area that has split, so I'll probably be okay with just the super glue. And I've noticed, like, on a lot of this stuff, I feel like they kind of over-tightened them at the factory, to be honest. I don't think they need to be as tight as they are. Now, what I will say, for anyone to try and pursue this, please be mindful that these 3 little divots here, here, and then back here have very small ball bearings that go in them. So just be mindful of that. I'm also going to put a little bit of, I think some silicone. I don't think I have any silicone grease, but I'll put like a very small amount of silicone oil in there for the time being, just to keep it sliding nice and smooth. And while I've got the head out like this, I'm going to give it a good cleaning. Alrighty, that's looking a lot better. Obviously I have the head back in the head holder, and I have tightened the screw down, and I did not use the handle of the screwdriver, I just used the shaft, so I was limiting my torque. And I think that's about where it should be. Alrighty. Got this put back together. Now I'm going to... I think what I need to do is pull off this little E-clip here. And then this piece of plastic should pop off. And then I can get the flywheel off and I'll do a deep cleaning on the capstan. Here is the before of the capstan. And here's the capstan after. Okay, I believe I have the head adjusted where it's supposed to be. Everything seems to be moving nice and freely now. I think it did actually also need that silicone oil to help with the head moving up and down. Give a little demo here. Yeah, I think that's working like it's supposed to. Because the belt I had on it was just a little bit tight, I feel like it was bogging down the motor slightly. I actually went back to the original belt and I did a little dip in wintergreen oil. Dipped the whole belt in it, let it sit for, a couple of seconds, and I wiped it all off. And it's actually working pretty good with the original belt now. So I think I'm going to let it be. And honestly, a lot of times the older rubbers tend to outlast the new ones. So if I can use the original, which, is not slipping now, I think I'll just let it be. This machine's very easy to get into. So now what I gotta do is put it back together and give it a good cleaning. Okay, so made a little mistake here. There's a very small crack, a stretch fracture there. Apparently Panasonic decided to glue this front panel on. I think I'm going to have to figure out some way to glue this end on, because this is actually starting to come off and I don't want it vibrating. But what I'm going to try and do here is use the Novus and maybe some very fine sandpaper to polish out these two scratches. So here's a good before of what that looks like, and I'll show you an after. And then after that, I'll give the rest of it a good cleaning. Alrighty, so I used this pretty high grit sandpaper here, and I went over these two scratches. That one there is actually a small crack from the impact that caused that scratch, and those are very deep gouges there. I got most of it. I'm not going for absolute perfection here. I just want this, to get rid of most of the deep stuff. There was also a pretty deep scuff over here, and again, I think there's actually a stress crack from the impact on this acrylic here. Now I'm going to hit it with the heavy scratch remover from Novus, and I'll move up to the fine scratch. And I'm not going to do the clean shine and protect, because I'm going to go ahead and wash this. And be very careful to not get water inside of this lens, because I don't want water in there. I think I'll probably just go over with a nice, decently wet toothbrush or something. Alright, here's how the front cleaned up. Came out pretty good. I got a little bit of water behind the plexiglass there, but should evaporate out. That's where that big gash was. You can see there's still some very small pits. But, yeah, that's way better than what it was before. And cleaned up pretty well. There's this discoloration. I'm not sure if it's going to come across on camera. You can kind of see it there. I'm kind of curious as to what caused that. I saw another one on eBay that had the same sort of thing, but it was way worse. I'm kind of wondering if it was sitting like this and the battery leaked. But I don't see much evidence of that on the inside, so I'm not exactly sure what caused that. Yeah, I would say this cleaned up great. Came out pretty good. I'm glad I took the components out and washed it, because it was just really dusty. There's a few scuffs of red paint on the bottom, but I'm not too worried about that. But look at that. That's nice and shiny. Alright, it's all cleaned up and back together. I'd say it came out pretty well. The only real downside here is how the plexiglass looks, but a lot of the big scratches over here are pretty much gone. For whatever reason, I tried getting at a smudge behind this plexiglass, and I went through the hole for the tuner there, and for some reason the Q-tip ended up like leaving a smudge itself. So I'm not exactly sure why that happened. It didn't do that over here. Maybe I pressed too hard. I don't really know why that ended up happening, but especially in low light, you're not going to see that. I mean, it's not perfect, but like the rest of the machine. In fact, I'm not even sure you can see that on camera. Let's see. Will it focus? Right here. Yeah, you can kind of see it. I mean, it is what it is. It's definitely way better than it was before. Here's a look around the back. Oh yeah, the handle polished up great. There was like no corrosion on this to begin with, so that was awesome. Oop, almost tipped it over there. I did something kind of stupid whenever I was popping out this dent. I used a pair of pliers. So again, this is going to be hard to come across on camera. So there's a little bit of a mar there, but I mean, you're not going to notice this stuff, and the machine wasn't perfect to begin with. So anyway, here, I'll do a small demo. This is AM.
And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong.
There's FM.
He hasn't asked me anything.
She said.
And here's the 8-track player. Alrighty, that is all for now. Thank you for watching.